Okay, we're about to get started here. If people could make themselves comfortable. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Cheshire Public School Superintendent Dr. Jeff Solon, and it's my pleasure to welcome you here to Highland Elementary School this afternoon for the Governor's Back to School Roundtable discussion. Across Connecticut, parents, students, and educators share a common goal of bringing all students safely back to school all day, every day. Today's roundtable discussion will feature various experts from across our state who will share their perspective on how to accomplish this goal in the face of a global pandemic. Before we dive into discussion, I have the distinct honor of welcoming our honored guests and panel members. First, I'd like to welcome our special guests, Representative Liz Linehan, representing Cheshire, Southington, and Wallingford, Representative Leslie Zupkis, representing Bethany, Cheshire, and Prospect, State Senator Tony Wong, the ranking member of the Public Health Committee, and Glenn Longarini, representing the Connecticut Association of Schools and CIAC, and finally our Cheshire Town Manager, Mr. Sean Kimball. Thank you all for attending this afternoon. Now for our members of the panel, if you could please raise your hand as I introduce you. Dr. Deidre S. Gifford, the Commissioner of Department of Public Health. Dr. Charlene Russell Tucker, Commissioner of Education. Kate Diaz, President of the Connecticut Education Association. Dr. Fran Rabinowitz, Executive Director of the Connecticut Association of Public School Superintendents. Mr. Don Harris, Executive Board of Connecticut Association of Boards of Education, State Board of Education member, and Bloomfield Board of Education President, and taking home the honor for most titles on the dais, I think. Dr. Verna Ruffin, the Superintendent of the Waterbury Public Schools. Diana Burns, Principal of our own Chapman Elementary School, and member of the Connecticut Association of Schools of Elementary Board of Control. Maura Esposito, the Director of Public Health for the Chespercott Public Health District. Leanne Arroyo, Director of Health for the City of Hartford. David Dennehy, the Connecticut Association of Athletic Directors and Athletic Director at St. Paul High School in Bristol. Deb Petruzzulo, President of the Connecticut High School Coaches Association and former head coach at Middletown High School. And our final member of the panel, I welcome the Honorable Governor of the State of Connecticut, Mr. Ned Lamont, to make an opening statement. Mr. Lamont?
I think my opening statement is that I'm here to listen. I'm here in Cheshire, Jeff, because you guys have done it right since the very beginning. You were able to get your schools open last September when the infection rate was not easy. And you kept your schools open for in-person learning. And your school's going to be opening right here, I think, in about a week, I was told. And I see what's going on in Georgia. I see what's going on in Florida. I see what's going on in Texas. I see a lot of kids being sent home in quarantine, not having a chance to be in the classroom. And I'm here to listen to how we can best keep our schools open, kids in the classroom.
Thank you so much, Governor. I appreciate that. This afternoon, I'll be asking a series of questions over the next half hour or so. I'll direct each question to a member or a respective commissioner and follow up with other members of our panel to provide their perspective. At the conclusion of our conversation, I'll join the panel to be able to be available for media for questions or comments. So to kick off this afternoon's conversation, I have a question for you, Dr. Russell Tucker. After students, families, and educators experienced a school year like no other, full of different learning models, many students experienced unprecedented social isolation. What is the Connecticut State Department of Education doing to support school districts regarding the mental health needs of students and staff?
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you for not only hosting us, but for all the work that you've been doing. Superintendents, you have a big job to do, and so thank you for supporting our students, our families, and certainly our educators. And thank you for the question. We certainly recognize the social isolation that has occurred with students is something that we need to pay very close attention to. We've heard from educators, we've heard from families, and we've heard from the students themselves that addressing social, emotional, and mental health needs is a priority that we should be paying attention to. And so as a department, the issue of social, emotional well-being is not new to us. certainly something that we've been working on, and this pandemic has allowed us to really step up our game in terms of addressing that issue. And so we've used resources that's provided to us to procure an assessment, a social emotional assessment that will be used by teachers. It's offered free to all our districts, that can be used by teachers to identify strengths and the instructional needs of our students, to make sure that they can be supported, they feel connected to schools, they're confident, successful, and that they're engaged in learning. So one of the things I know folks have heard me say is that I do have a big, audacious goal, and that is to make sure every single school in our state has the behavioral health and mental health supports that they need. That may be the hiring of staff that may need there, or it may be partnerships with our behavioral health partners or school-based health centers to make sure that need is addressed in each school as needed, so families can feel secure that there's supports there for the students, and our educators also can also take advantage of those needs. So we'll continue to listen. We did a survey of our districts just to find out where the needs are, so that we can step in and supplement as needed to support the entire school community.
Thank you so much for that. Mr. Harris, would you care to elaborate on that?
I would just say that the commissioner handled it incredibly well. I would say that for many years now, I've been involved in social and emotional development and of our students and of our teachers and all of our school staff. And what I would say to you is simply, social and emotional development is the foundation for academic growth. If we want students to learn and learn well, they have to feel safe. They have to know that we honor their feelings, and for teachers and school staff and families, it is incredibly important. It is the foundation, and I'm happy about that audacious goal of having the mental health and student support personnel in all the districts. And thankfully, we do have ESSER dollars now that we can begin to have adequate student support services in every school district in the state.
Thank you, Dr. Rabinowitz. Mr. Harris, anything from the State Board of Ed side?
Just nothing more than to reiterate what my two colleagues have already stated, but I would take Fran's comments just a little further. And the social emotional is so important that it's going to lead to a foundation of educational success for our students. But I think it's incredibly important that we continue to try to stay together. And what our decision-making needs to be all on one accord. So for keeping the kids in mind as our number one priority, and we will get through this pandemic.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harris. The next question is for Dr. Gifford. If you could talk about what masking guidelines are currently in place, and with the expiration of September 30th, is there any forecasting that you see on the horizon for that?
Yes, absolutely. So under an executive order from the governor, there is an order from the commissioner of the Department of Public Health for universal indoor masking in certain locations. That includes, as you know, school buildings. It also includes public transportation, including school buses, and healthcare facilities. That executive order currently goes through September the 30th, and the governor has announced that he will be leaving that executive order in place through the 30th of September. What happens after the 30th, I think, depends on what happens with our cases in the state of Connecticut. We are seeing lots of COVID around the country, and we are seeing that in schools, as the governor alluded to. I'm getting some feedback here. There we go.
As the governor alluded to, in schools where masks were not required at the beginning of the school year and there was lots of COVID in the community, we've seen very significant disruptions to in-person learning. Along with my partner, Commissioner Russell Tucker, and the governor, and a lot of people in the educational community, we have been working very hard to ensure a safe in-person learning experience for students starting out the school year. That's been the governor's priority since the pandemic began, and I know the priority of a lot of parents and families and educators as well. So we'll keep on watching the numbers and adjust mitigation strategies as the conditions merit.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ruffin, Dr. Rabinowitz talked about federal funding being available. Can you talk a little bit about, from your perspective as a superintendent, the funding you received and what initiatives might be underway in your district?
Yes, thank you. We were very pleased for the ARP ESSER funds that we've recently received for Waterbury. That is approximately $89 million. We've taken it very seriously to respond to all 5 priorities. The student supports, of course, the family and community connections. We've paid very close attention to the social and emotional, that we have built in additional resources for our district and for our students and families and our staff. We've also been very aware of the technological advances that we have made after March 13th of 2020, and we've expanded on that, and it is our desire to continue to provide those supports for students and families and our teachers and staff to deliver, because we believe that the future of the remote learning and learning virtually allows to meet the learning styles of all of our students. So we expect that when our students are in person beginning on Monday, those technological advancements are going to be occurring in the classroom in person with teachers and students interacting. Additionally, for the operations, where we can pay attention to the ventilation in a number of our schools that are not air conditioned, to be able to provide it, not just because we want to provide air conditioning, but to provide that quality of an instructional environment that is most conducive to students to learn inside our buildings. So we are very excited about that. We're excited about pouring into our students and our teachers and our faculty and staff in a meaningful way so it could make a difference in all the lives of our children. So we're grateful for that, and we have a very strong plan to address all 5 priorities.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that, you know, our goal in Cheshire was to what we call bounce forward, and it sounds very familiar, you know, in terms of what you're doing, that post-pandemic, post-funding, we want to leave the district in better shape than pre-pandemic if we can, by making enhancements, you know, to our school system and providing unique resources. Ms. Burns, Principal Burns, anything you want to elaborate there in terms of the strategies that, you know, you're employing?
Sure. You know, here in Cheshire, I think we're really excited about the ESSER funds as well, and have already started to put them to good use. We were able to offer students that were working remotely a good part of last year a summer transition program to really aid in their transition back into school this year. We were really successful in getting a lot of remote students to come back in person, which was our goal, because we really value and know how meaningful in-person learning really is. So we're excited because we just get to better our best, and certainly that funding really helps us be able to do that. So we thank you for supporting public schools in that way.
Thank you. There's no question across Connecticut and hopefully even nationally, there was incredible adoration for the teachers and the role that they played in keeping education accessible to our students and connecting with kids however they could. Ms. Diaz, if you could talk a little bit about, you know, the perspective of our teachers across the state as they return to school this year.
Thank you for the question. This is my favorite question to talk about is teachers. I've been across the state so far as schools opening. I was in Old Saybrook this morning welcoming new teachers, Granby. We've been down to Stanford welcoming 160 new teachers. So it is a busy, busy time in education. But as we go to all of these schools and we visit and we touch base, the consistent message across the board is, let's get going. You know, there's such an eagerness and enthusiasm among teachers to do whatever it takes to make this school year really work for students. They're willing to make sacrifices of their own time and resources to make sure that kids come back to places they can feel safe, they can feel supported, they can feel loved. We've seen additional staff added in spaces to support the social emotional learning. When I was in Windsor, they have started a tiered intervention program around social and emotional learning. So there's a lot of thought going into what can we do to make kids feel safe, secure, and ready to learn. Because I think we all recognize that the social emotional is a component of what we want. It's a foundation, but we also really want to get kids in the classroom and excited. And, you know, I'm a math teacher by trade, so my job is to make people enthusiastic about the quadratic formula. Not an easy task, but let me tell you, I have a few songs, a few tricks. This is what teachers do. So I think that what you all should know is that teachers are ready. These are really rock-solid professionals who are trained to navigate the uncharted waters of recovering from a pandemic. They showed their tenacity and perseverance in the last year, and I expect nothing less of the coming year. I think you're going to see amazing things, the technology we've learned. I think back to the fact a year and a half ago, I'd never heard of Google Meet. And then my entire life became centered around a Google Classroom. So our ability to adjust, reflect, and respond is what makes teachers in the state of Connecticut truly exceptional. And I think that's what you have set before you. So I'm very excited for this school year.
Thank you so much. And, you know, it's great because we see that same enthusiasm from our teachers. And I know that's universal, just the excitement of getting back into school with all of our students. This is a really uplifting time of year for everybody who works in education. Dr. Gifford, if you could talk a little bit about the protocol for vaccination of staff and students and what's mandatory and for whom, that would be helpful.
Sure. I will tag team with my partner from the Department of Education. There's no COVID vaccination mandate for students. I just want to make that clear. The governor did sign an executive order regarding teachers and staff in schools, requiring vaccination by a date in September 27th. Thank you. There is a possibility for an exemption for a medical reason provided by a medical provider, or an exemption for a sincerely held religious belief. Those are the two options for an exemption. Individuals who choose not to be vaccinated will be required to present evidence of a COVID test every week. And I know that Commissioner Russell Tucker will be working with partners at the local level as to how that will be implemented.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Arroyo, you know, from a large urban center, how do we, what sort of access is available for vaccinations? What do you recommend for people to be able to access vaccination in the urban centers?
So the partnership between the Department of Public Health and the state, as well as the local public health entities, has been fantastic. And we've had many opportunities to partner with a multitude of providers in our community. And so on any given day in the city of Hartford, you will find a vaccination clinic open in a community. You will also find standing clinics. And so the opportunities are there to be able to become vaccinated. Our own department holds 3 to 4 clinics in the off hours, because we know that the evening hours are a time when parents might be able to come. And so we're making sure that we're extending hours into hours that are flexible and convenient for parents. And so that is something something we will continue to do. You know, in the city of Hartford, we are a community that is majority minority, and so we know that there is other headwinds that we have to confront, and that's what we've been doing, going out, having conversations one-on-one, and really answering those questions. We have a young community as well, and as we all know, young people tend to think they're invincible, and so they're a little harder to have these conversations, and they're also oftentimes disconnected from a doctor and a regular provider. So we're filling in those gaps by having those conversations. So our partnership with the Department of Public Health and the resources that the state has put on the table have really helped us to be able to ensure that access is available. And now what we're doing is working on changing hearts and minds to be able to get people to come in and get their questions answered. What we find is someone that may have some misinformation or may be a little hesitant, once they come into a clinic, because we create an environment that is not just to get vaccinated, but also to ask questions. If they come in and they ask a question, I would say that most of the time they're going to leave vaccinated from our clinics.
Thank you very much. It's, you know, certainly there's such a large percentage of our state that lives in the urban areas. That information is very helpful. Ms. Esposito, obviously you have a more suburban, if not rural, perspective. If you could share, you know, the vaccination, how do people get access to vaccination? Where do they go? Where do they turn if they want more information outside of their local provider?
Sure. There's many. Excuse me. Is it on? So right now you can go to 211 and gain access to information for any community. Here at Chespercott, we have it on our website, but we partner a lot with our school systems. We are actually just finishing up this week as our back to school vaccination programs. We did the first week of September. We advertised that throughout social media, our website, on local papers. We will do anybody. It does not just for students. So we did our first dose, and this week we're doing our second dose. The last 2 days we've been outside in this lovely heat, giving people vaccinations, and we are seeing lots of first-timers coming through our second dose clinics. And tomorrow we will be doing the Cheshire community right at Cheshire High School as a drive-through community. So,
And that's at, what, 6 o'clock?
From 4 to
4 to
6,
6.
we try to do it so parents can easily access that if they want to bring their children.
Thank you so much. And I know, you know, if you are looking for vaccination access, it's as simple as just Googling where to be vaccinated in Connecticut, and a number of resources pop up. I know that, you know, a lot of families across Connecticut are really eager, particularly to get back to fall sports without a season last year. Mr. Dennehy, could you talk a little bit about, you know, from the athletic director's perspective, what are athletic directors across Connecticut doing to prepare, and what, you know, sort of protocols are in place for sports this year?
Yes, thank you for the question. Like everyone here, you know, athletic directors and coaches and schools across the state have, you know, lived through this. We experienced it for a year. We learned through guidance and conversations with the governor's office, DPH, CIAC, and our local health districts, best practices and mitigation strategies to make high school sports safe, how to make them work, and how to allow our kids to be out there to compete. Obviously, high school sports, we all know, is an exceptionally important part of our children's growth and development process and part of their academic experiences in high school. So, again, this year we're coming into the fall with football back. That's a great thing. Teams hopefully taking it easy today out there on a hot day, but teams back in action. And again, we have those mitigation strategies in place. You know, masking inside, managing locker rooms, social distancing. You know, vaccinations certainly allow kids to stay in competition throughout any kind of COVID exposure. So that's first and foremost. But athletic directors, schools have worked very hard. Coaches have been part of this educational process in giving our student athletes the option and opportunity to compete through a COVID crisis. And we'll continue to do that and do our best to keep kids on the field.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know you mentioned coaches, and for so many of our students, people like band directors and coaches and people who facilitate extracurricular activities play such a critical role in the lives of our kids. To reconnect them is, really important for us. Ms. Petrozzullo, do you want to talk a little bit about, how has the role of coaching changed through the pandemic, or what other things should people in the community be aware of as they navigate athletics at this time?
Thank you.
Sure.
Coaches, listening to some of the other speakers, coaches are teachers. And is that better?
Yeah.
You're welcome. Coaches are teachers, and once a coach, always a coach. We are also involved in our athletes' student socio-emotional needs. It is important that the coaches, and many have been excited and ready to listen to the guidance of DPH, to the CIAC, to the athletic directors, who have put together great programs and great protocol for the coaches to keep our athletes safe while we are teaching them the skills needed to participate in their sport. It's been a help to have protocols already set for the coaches to keep their sport going, to keep the kids safe, to be able to participate. Dave already spoke about some of the strategies that have been used by the coaches to do that. We are excited to have a season, and it's important that coaches just explained to the athletes what can happen with by doing this, what can happen if you don't do this, and the importance of getting vaccinated and using the protocols, the safety protocols that have been provided to us.
Thank you so much. Speaking of the safety protocols, I think I could probably direct this to a number of us that have kind of become experts in the field, unfortunately, over the last year around contact tracing. I think there's a significant shift this year with respect to how we identify folks as a close contact. Dr. Gifford, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
When the CDC put out their most recent guidance about schools, I believe that was in June, don't quote me on that date, they did make an exception for the definition of an exposure. And what that means is that for students who are in a classroom wearing a mask and 3 feet apart from their fellow students, if someone in that classroom does test positive for COVID, then those students will not be counted as a contact. And
if I could ask that we could show a little decorum, please. All right, we'll address the audio. Yeah, okay. So, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So if this is a reflection of how we can't have a civil dialogue with you. Yeah. Okay. All right. So, all right. So I'll respond to that, my own question here, by indicating that last year, when a student was within 6 feet of a positive case, for a cumulative 15 minutes, they were required to be quarantined. And at this point, the CDC has reduced in the classroom environment only to 3 feet. At this point, I've covered the questions I had for our panel. I definitely want to, I know that a number of people across Connecticut want to hear what you've had to share today. And I certainly appreciate you carving out time to be here so that, people beyond this room could hear what, the important information that you're sharing. So with that, I would just like to close and offer, if anybody would like to make a final statement, or just thank you and open it to the media. So at this point, I'm happy to, if there are any questions for the media, we could take those after the fact. Thank you so much for attending today. Thank you.